Have you ever walked into a place totally sure you filled every inch of the room, only to be treated like a blur in the background? It's not some existential daydream, it's selective peripheral vision. Today, Dylan Foster, 47 years old, architect of a hotel empire, turned into a shadow inside his own five-star jewel. The marble lobby reflected chandeliers fit for a palace, yet not a single eye blinked his way. For months, reports had talked about guests getting chilly smiles, bookings vanishing without explanation, desk clerks who could spot fat wallets from thin ones a mile away. Dylan took it all in from his office, but a report can't carry the smell of neglect. So he stepped onto the stage he'd designed himself. No tie, no security, just the rolling carry-on every traveler drags around. The revolving door had barely finished its spin when negligence clocked in. 3 receptionists lined up like chess pieces were fussing over spreadsheets. Dylan waited, registration card filled out, until he felt his importance evaporate. The lobby's silence made their disdain louder. That's when he grasped the weight of the complaints. This wasn't a one-off glitch. It was a toxic culture woven into the carpet. Picking up the phone and ordering audits would have been the playbook move, but he needed something Excel can't capture, the real temperature of the service. So he kept standing there, logging every second of invisibility, determined to show the staff that luxury without respect is just a polished facade. At the desk, Spencer, a blonde a little over 20, ran the counter with the excitement of someone counting the minutes until quitting time. Leaning back, phone gripped tight, she dove into the screen as if every notification were vital. Dylan stepped up, cleared his throat. Silence. He tapped the bell. Silence again. "Excuse me?" The sigh that followed seemed to shove the air out of the room. Spencer lifted her eyes, slowly, and shrank all courtesy into a single word. "What?" "No welcome. No how can I help you. Just what?" Dylan kept his voice steady. "I have a reservation. Dylan Foster." She spun toward the computer and typed loudly, but the rhythm screamed boredom, not urgency. After a few clicks, nothing's coming up. "Could you check again?" Spencer raised an eyebrow, pretended to comply, and ran the search once more. Same result. Without taking her eyes off the monitor, she declared, "Nothing." Dylan pulled out his phone and held the confirmation email inches from her face. Spencer gave a lazy look. "The system doesn't make mistakes. Neither does my email." Another heavier sigh, as if every second of this conversation was torture. "Maybe you booked the wrong hotel. Happens." Right then, Dylan realized. It wasn't a tech glitch. It was instant judgment. The moment he walked in, she'd decided the issue wasn't worth the effort. "Oh yeah?" Dylan tilted his head, still calm. "So you think I got lost?" Spencer flashed a quick, tight smile, hiding contempt under courtesy. "Happens all the time," she said, as if explaining to a child. Dylan felt his jaw lock. He breathed, chose his words. "Hypothetically, what if I'm not lost? What if my reservation was always here?" "In that case, the system glitched," she replied without checking a thing, already turning to the next guest. He knew that system. Glitches were rare, human errors common, and he recognized Spencer's sideways glance. Dodge confrontation, stick to the script, ditch the problem. On another day, he would have let it slide. Not today. From his left pocket came the second phone, the one with internal access. A few taps and the screen showed the obvious. Reservation active, confirmation number, everything in order. Out of curiosity, he opened the changelog. Someone had erased it manually. Operator name, Spencer, front desk. Bingo. Dylan looked up at her badge, letting a faint smile show. "Spencer, right? Can I ask you something?" "Sure," she said, still impatient. "What happens when someone deletes a reservation?" "It vanishes from the history, that's it." "And who's allowed to do that?" "Only the front desk," she answered, already realizing her slip. He leaned over the counter, voice low, almost friendly. "Like you, for instance?" Spencer swallowed hard, color rising in her cheeks. Why?" Dylan spun the phone on the counter, showing the record. Her name glowed next to the delete command. For the first time, her face went pale. Her eyes searched for an exit that wasn't there. Dylan leaned in, voice soft. "So Spencer, why did you cancel my reservation?" "Nothing." The chatty manager went mute. Dylan lifted one corner of his mouth. The game had just gotten interesting. He'd seen mistakes and frauds before, but never someone stumbled this close to him. Spencer kept her eyes glued to the screen, blinking fast, like she could blink the log right out of the system. Her fingers trembled, powerless in front of the freshly recorded crime. There was no shortcut back. "I can explain," she ventured. "Don't even start." The reply was flat. She shrugged. Dylan stepped back, took a deep breath, held back his anger, and decided the drama called for calm. He wanted to raise his voice and set the fancy lobby on fire, but he chose something better. He turned the counter into a stage, leaned on it, and smiled like someone who knows the whole trick. "Here's the deal, Spencer." The line came out almost cordial. Swallowing hard, she waited. "You're going to get me a room. Now." The words landed heavy. She hesitated, but her hands flew. The keyboard popped under the rush and fear. Every tap reminded her that escape was impossible, that she had no choice but to obey. "Right?" she murmured, typing codes that seemed to hide. Meanwhile, Dylan was already savoring the next move of the game. "Louder." Dylan placed his hands on the polished counter and let the pause stretch, forcing Spencer to look up. "I found a room." "Did you really?" he shot back, his voice calm like someone counting seconds. Spencer slid the key card to the edge of the counter, not risking eye contact. "Here you go, sir." Dylan kept his fingers still. "What number?" 1427. A heavy sigh slipped out. "So you picked the worst room in the whole building." Spencer stiffened. Her strategy had been too obvious. Room 1427 groaned every time the elevator doors opened, lived inside the hum of the maintenance closet, and offered as a bonus the fragrant view of the outside dumpster. Dylan knew that because he had designed it line by line. He leaned forward a little, his face halfway to a smile. "Tell me, Spencer, do I look naive?" She shook her head, the blush giving away the hit. No, sir." "Then why push this act like I don't know every inch of this place?" Spencer opened her mouth, but no defense came. The card stayed on the marble border between them, heavy despite its ounces. Outside, an automatic door popped open with a metallic snap, reminding him the hotel had more eyes than people. Dylan waited, patient, sure the next word would come from her, and it would be the right one. Silence dropped over the lobby like a blanket. The few usual sounds, the clink of glasses, a distant phone, seemed to sink. Guests on the couches looked up, pretending to read messages while stretching their ears. Even the bellhop in the corner chose to adjust the tiny hat of his uniform once more. Dylan reached out and picked up the key card with the calm of someone bottling lightning. "Thank you, Spencer." He turned away, crossed the marble floor, and stepped into the elevator without hurry. But inside, his blood was racing. By the time the room door closed, the laptop was already open on the desk. The building carried his name on the facade. Even so, someone had dared treat him like a clueless tourist. He was going to find out why. First step, dig through the internal system. Team reports, guest complaints, management memos. Any detail could reveal the missing piece. In a few minutes, a pattern popped out. The same name kept showing up in archived requests, supervisor comments, and ignored complaints. Receptionist throws out complaint without logging it. Guest reports racial discrimination at check-in. Employee involved, Spencer. Service denied under hotel policy, with no proof. Frequent disputes with guests over reservation errors. Dylan leaned back in the chair. The problem was bigger than a grudgingly handed key card. It was a thread pulling a whole ball of yarn, and he wasn't letting go anytime soon. She wasn't just inefficient, she was cruel. Yet her badge was still active. Why? Dylan flipped through the report and found the answer. Manager Tyler Jones, a corporate policy fan who hated conflict. Spencer had been collecting complaints for months, and no one cut her off. Dylan decided to end it. He headed back to the lobby with a firm stride. Spencer was smiling behind the counter, sure she'd gotten away. Big mistake. Without looking at her, he walked straight past and into the manager's office. Tyler, a 40-something with freshman energy, looked up and turned pale. "Mr. Foster." What a surprise. Dylan leaned against the doorframe, blocking the exit. "Let's cut to the chase." "Sure, how can I—" "Do you know what just happened out there? I think everything's fine." "Wrong." Arms folded, Dylan fired back. "They canceled my reservation." Tyler swallowed hard. "Who did that?" Take a guess. Silence. Spencer's name slipped out in a whisper. I was going to fix it, he stammered. But she… Enough. The air grew heavy. You've been getting complaints about her for ages and you do nothing. Training, right? Tyler shook his head. That woman's not some confused newbie. She's a constant blaze, and she's burning on your watch. Dylan inhaled. Here's how this goes. You walk out now, go to the front desk and fire her in front of everyone. Not later, not tomorrow. Now. The wall clock ticked too loudly. Tyler had nowhere to run. The shock on Tyler's face faded fast. With no escape, he gave a curt nod. 2 minutes later, the entire lobby held its breath. The manager crossed the hall with a firm stride and, facing Spencer, delivered the verdict. She sucked in air, defended herself, cried, claimed it was a mistake. Nothing overturned the sentence. She was out. Propped against the central column, Dylan watched like a man rewatching a rehearsed scene. When Spencer marched to the revolving door and, in a last reflex, shot him a look of hatred, he lifted the corners of his mouth, subtle, cruel. That night, vigilante and anonymous, Dylan savored victory. Better yet, Spencer had no idea that he was the one who pulled the trap door from under her feet. Seeing her face oscillate between anger and shame was a feast, but the satisfaction cooled quickly. Maybe because she didn't know the executioner's name. Maybe because removing one piece wasn't enough to fix the machine. Dylan had come for more than revenge. He'd come to restore his own empire. Tyler, pale, wiped his sweat. I fixed it, he babbled. Dylan arched one side of his mouth. No, Tyler, I fixed it. You just stood there like someone staring at a traffic jam. The manager let out a short laugh, hoping it was a joke. It wasn't. I can fire you too, Dylan warned in a tone that mixed cordiality and sentence. This hotel turned into a customer service nightmare under your eyes. Tyler swallowed hard. I swear, Mr. Foster, I'll fix everything. Dylan raised an eyebrow, unhurried. How cute, Stephen. But I'm the one who's going to fix it. With that, he turned his back. The lobby, buzzing seconds earlier, plunged into awkward silence. Guests pretended to mess with their phones, but every gaze tracked the scene. A free show in mid-afternoon. Dylan reached the counter, rested his elbows, and faced the two clerks who hadn't fled yet. Listen up, this place is going to change and fast. The kid with the crooked name tag nodded so quickly he nearly lost his breath. Yes, sir. Are you from corporate? Dylan gave a short smile. Something like that. He picked up the house phone, dialed, waited for a click. Foster speaking. Shut the hotel down for a full audit. Comp every guest, review every complaint, and reevaluate the entire staff. Anyone who can't keep up, show them the door. Effective now. The words hit hard. The team froze. One receptionist still tried to draw breath. Wait, you're… Dylan returned the handset to the cradle. I'm that Dylan Foster. Silence turned into vacuum. A guest held her breath. The kid with the badge widened his eyes, porcelain plates. Stephen went chalk white. Dylan straightened his jacket like checking the time. Excuse me, he said, walking toward the elevator. I've got another place to clean up. The doors closed. Inside, he could almost feel the collective penny drop outside. The real weight of what had just happened. The door had barely shut and the hallway air already carried new respect. Dylan Foster was back. He smirked and crossed the carpet toward the suite. On the way, his phone buzzed non-stop. Calls from HQ, the board. Maybe Stephen in a panic. He let it ring. Let them sweat in anticipation of the verdict. He dropped his suitcase, opened the laptop, logged into the system. First item, cleanup. Spencer went on the blacklist, not just fired, banned from any hotel in the chain. Stephen? He still had a sliver of credit, just one. Then he faced the guest complaints. Reports of neglect, delays, arrogance. To Dylan, that was a personal insult. He refunded every customer, guaranteed comps and lifetime upgrades. That's how you protect an empire. 3 knocks. Stephen walked in, bloodless. Mr. Foster, I had no idea. Dylan leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed. That's the problem. You have no idea what's happening in your lobby. Stephen swallowed. I can fix it, I swear. Dylan tilted his head. Was firing Spencer quick? Stephen nodded. Great, now pack your bags. Silence. What? It's over, Steve. You let this place rot. A light pat ended the discussion. Some roadside motel will appreciate your skills. With the corridor quiet again, Dylan poured a whiskey, leaned back and exhaled. The hotel would get cleaner, the business stronger, and the next time a clerk thought about stepping out of line, they'd think twice. Now everyone knew who ran the territory. So, did you like this story? Then do me a favor. Hit the like button, share it with someone who loves a good twist, and drop a comment below. Would you have fired Stephen or not? Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell because there are plenty more stories coming your way. See you then.